Hi, welcome to this video tutorial on how to build a COVID-19 symptom checker and patient triage system in the .NET programming language, basically C#.NET programming language. My name is Ayuba Ojonugwamu-Azu, and we're in the year 2020, and this is April, and I'm shooting this video because we are on lockdown. Globally, we are currently shut down economically because of COVID-19, which is a deadly and infectious disease that has been on the rampage in different cities all around the world. But then, since we're at home, working from home in this lockdown, I decided to use the opportunity to teach you or create this video tutorial on how to build a symptom checker that is targeting COVID-19 and a patient triage system. The video or the project at the end of the day will target people that want to know about, that want to assess themselves on COVID-19. They want to assess themselves, they want to know based on the symptoms they have, whether they have COVID-19 or not. So we're going to build such system. We're going to build that. We're going to build it in C#.NET, and you're going to learn a lot. But how we're going to do this? We're actually going to work with an API called Informatica. It's a big company that it's a big medical and online medical company, and I'm going to introduce you to that in the next session once I start explaining the API and the rest. So, like I said, my name is Ayuba Ojonugwamu-Azu, and I'm a software developer and a blockchain engineer from Nigeria in Africa. And I've shot a lot of videos on the education ecosystem. You can go to my channel, search for my username, which is Yubzy, YUBZY, and then you see my video tutorials, basically in .NET programming language and in blockchain. So I hope you're going to enjoy this tutorial at the end of the day. Thank you. Hi, welcome to session 1 on this video series on how to build a COVID-19 symptom checker and patient triage system in C#.NET. My name is Ayuba Ojonugwamu-Azu, and how are we going to achieve building this symptom checker? We have to look for a very reliable company that has built a database to respond to our interface when we query or when we send in results or query some results. And one company that has done that is Informatica. And then we're going to look at the company in this session 1, and then we're going to look at what they offer, including the COVID-19 endpoints that they have. So to do that, go to informatica.com, and then it takes you to their front page here. And as at the time of this shooting, you can see we have this COVID-19 risk assessment tool is now available. Learn more, so it means you can click on this, which of course is what we're interested in. But before we do that, let's look at Informatica and see what they are doing and why we are using this company to help build what we want to build. So first of all, the first thing they wrote here is guide your patients to the right care. Informatica makes it easy to pre-diagnose, triage, and connect your patients with the appropriate medical services. So you can click this button, schedule a demo with them. And then you can see they have different products. They have a symptom checker, they have call center triage, and then they have informatical API, which we are going to focus on this. Now, symptom checker, leading edge preliminary diagnosis and triage app, effectively guiding patients to timely and proper level of care. So you can click on these to check on details. And then they have call center triage, AI-driven software supporting call operators and making accurate, timely, reliable triage recommendations. So if you're planning to build a very sophisticated and intelligent medical application, I think you can try Informatica. And yes, we're trying that, and we're going to learn how we can use your API to build a COVID-19 symptom checker. So we're going to build a symptom checker with a triage system on this using the Informatica API. So they said our powerful application programming interface allows you to build customized diagnostic solutions from scratch. Of course, that's what we're going to do. We're going to build a full-fledged symptom checker from scratch. So in a nutshell, what does Informatica helps you to do? It brings AI and physicians together. Technology combines the power of algorithm and the experiences of our doctors. You can build apps in Chatbox. We develop mobile, web, and chat apps that are easy to use and integrate. And then, of course, the API and their applications are available in 17 languages as of the time of shooting this video. So these organizations that have used their APIs, and probably you've known these organizations. We have Alliance Partner, Everyday Health, and the rest. I'm even thinking of building a full-fledged medical app myself to help patients in Africa. So I think I might take this further. So you can see what their clients have to say, and then you can write to them to schedule a demo. So if you go here now, you click on Symptom Checker so that you get to see what the Symptom Checker is all about as part of their product. So they say preliminary diagnosis and triage tool. Listen to your patients, uncover the possible causes of their symptom, and help them find the right care. So we're going to build a symptom checker, something like this, where patients, we ask questions from our applications, and patients get to answer this question, and we predict based on this API and based on AI and the algorithm and what we are calling from the Informatica API, we get to diagnose the patient and then give the patient some results. But you have to know this is not the medical advice. Using online tools like this really you can say they are 100% efficient. You still need to go see a doctor, so you have to make your patients to know that. But it helps minimize a whole lot of things like unnecessary visits to the hospital. A doctor from the hospital can actually treat or interact with his patients online and all that. So it helps minimize a whole lot of risk. For example, now that we are in this pandemic and then people are at home, people are not going out, people are locked down, and someone might be feeling unwell. So, online tools like this, like what we are going to build, will help a whole lot. It will help a whole lot. So refine your process, whether you want to collect patient data, give health advice, triage your patients, or support medical staff, Symptom Checker can help. So these are all things you can do by integrating Symptom Checker into your website. And then find out what kind of care your patients really need and reduce unnecessary expense. You will know exactly who can stay home, who qualifies for teleconsultation, who should see a doctor, and who needs urgent medical care. And these are the hospitals. Modern hospitals actually need systems like these to to help boost their patient care system. And then, they have 93% engine accuracy. The accuracy of technology has been confirmed by cases from these companies. I don't really know these companies, BMJ and EJM, JAMA, and others. Okay, so this is what they have on their website, and then you can look at it. So this man here should be the chief medical officer, and then so you can just go down, look at it, and read about it and all that. So You can create chat box. You can add chat box to your website if you have a medical website, or you can have symptom checker to your medical website. For example, if you go to webmd.com, I think they have a symptom checker that you can use. So they have that. So that can be built with APIs like Informatica. And that's what we are going to build at the end of the day. So now that we have Informatica, if you come here, okay, from here, let's just go down. If you click on developers portal, you will see how you can quickly get started. So if you click on developers portal, it takes you to developer.informatica.com. Now the first thing you need to do is to request for an account, or if you already have an account, then you can log in. So by requesting for an account, an API key will be given to you. So like if you click on these, so you enter your username. So username, business email, first name, last name, and all that. You fill this information, and then you tell them how you want to use the API. You request for the accounts, and you get verified. Once you get verified, then you can click on login to log into the platform as a developer. Now that if you've done that, then the next thing that I want you to look at is the documentation. So if you click on this, we're going to see the documentation, and you can see they have a whole lot of documentation, a whole lot of case studies, medical concept, related symptoms, diagnosis, and all that. If you scroll down, you can see COVID-19. Now here is where our interest lies. So if you click on COVID-19, and then you can see everything about COVID-19 here, but just to help you get started, I will just take you through. So as a company operating in digital health space, we've mobilized all our resources to respond to the threat of SARS. SARS means severe acute respiratory syndrome, CoV-2 virus. The result of our work is a new set of API endpoints dedicated solely to COVID-19 risk assessment. So we are going to build this a risk assessment web application. Our goal is to help all developers out there to enable their apps and websites with a reliable COVID-19 patient screening protocol. So, and then okay, these are the change logs. You can look at it. And then okay, so how does Informatica gets to get their different data and help to build this kind of API? So you can see it here. The pre-screen logic provided via COVID-19 endpoint is curated by a team of doctors and strictly based on World Health Organization standards and daily transmission reports. Our doctors are continuously reviewing the WHO guidelines and updating the pre-screening questionnaires on a daily basis. So that's how they get their reports and all that. So please keep in mind that unlike our general symptom checking endpoints, there is no AI and no machine learning involved in COVID-19. Our goal is to strictly follow the golden standard established by WHO. Recommendation on what to do next are solely based on combination of WHO and CDC, Center for Disease Control. So you can click all this site to look at it. So what you're saying here is there's really no AI in the COVID-19 endpoints, unlike other endpoints like other endpoints that you can use, like related symptoms, I think, or diagnosis. Unlike other endpoints like diagnosis, they use API, they use AI, sorry. So the COVID-19 itself also have a diagnosis endpoint, but okay, I think I need to shut this video down now because you can see a whole lot of kids are actually playing outside and it's going to affect my shooting. So all right, These other endpoints here, diagnosis, have API embedded in it, and then you can use both. COVID-19 is just straightforward. So what you need to do now is log in, get your accounts, get your API, and then we just discuss the application, and then we start coding and see what we can do at the end of the day. So thank you for watching. Hi, welcome to session 2 on this video series on how to build a COVID-19 symptom checker and patient triage system in C#.net. My name is Ayuba Ojanugwamu. Now, we're going to look at the overview of what we want to develop, because I've built that, and then we're going to look at it and then see how we are going to build that at the end of the day. So this is what we are going to build, COVID-19 self-assessment app. It's going to look like this, and you are going to okay, let me refresh this and start this from the beginning, so we get to see just in entirety what we are supposed to build. So the app is working, and it's working fine. I'm going to rerun the app and then just show you that. I think I hosted this somewhere online. I hosted this online actually, but let me just run you through this. So first of all, you select your gender, let's say a male of 30 years, for instance, and then you click start test. So good. Now it's going to ask you a whole lot of questions. So you can see the first question says, please select all statements that apply to you. So history of chronic lung disease, history of heart failure, history of current cancer. Do you have current cancer? Disease or drugs that weaken immune system. Do you take that? History of chronic liver disease, history of chronic kidney disease, long-term stay at a care facility or nursing home. So based on what you selected, let's say you select no for these, no for these, let's say yes for these, and then no for these, and then let's say yes for this, and then you click continue. So based on the statements that apply to you, it asks you the next question. So do you have any of the following symptoms? Please only select new symptoms that are not related to your chronic disease. So let's say the person has fever, the person has no cough, and the person has no shortness of breath, for example. So click continue. So good. So it's asking how high is your fever. Let's say the fever is between 38 to 40 degrees. So let's say the high fever is like this, and then you click continue. Now it's asking another question, are your symptoms rapidly worsening? Let's say no. So you click again, click continue. So are you breathing very fast? So let's say yes, and then we'll continue. So are you coughing up blood? Let's say no, and you click continue. Good. So thank you. Please click the button below to view your result. So you click on this. Good. And so you can see this. Your symptoms are very serious and you may have COVID-19. So here is also a report of that. Fever between this degree is not an emergency, but rapid breathing is an emergency because you selected that. So this is how simple and intelligent the application is, the COVID-19 application. Now to achieve this, we achieve this using this API. So at this point, I believe you would have signed up to Informatica and you have your API key and API ID. That's what we are going to use. So good. Now that we have all this, the next thing is we are going to see how we're going to call the API. So there are different endpoints here. Actually, you can see the available endpoints. We have our diagnosis, post handles a pre-screening questionnaire. We're going to use the diagnosis more. Then we have triage. Post returns information on how provided symptoms are classified and what to do next. And then get, you can search list of countries, get lists of all symptoms, and then get list of all risk factors, get lists of all countries based on location. So there are all these endpoints here that you can call, and then if you read through it, you will see how you can call all this API. As you can see, the first request here is diagnosis API. The most important part of our API is diagnosis endpoint, which accepts post requests. Apart from sex and age, it requires a list of observed evidence, responses to questions, symptoms, risk factors. The list of evidence can be empty at the beginning. So, and then he gave this example here, and the API looks like this. So we're going to program all these in .NET, and then we are going to see how we are going to turn this into a full-blown application. So that's about this session. And of course, day two they hosted an application online called Symptom Checker. Yes, it's Symptom Mate. You can go to symptommate.com, and then you can view. It's something similar to what we built and what we're going to build. So you can go, you can see this. So this is symptommate.com, and then COVID-19 checkup. It's almost the same thing with what I just showed you that I built, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. So if you look at Symptommate, you will see it's asking you the same question. Okay. Hello, our anonymous, reliable WHO-based tools can help you assess your risk on having COVID-19 by answering a few questions about symptoms, travel, and contact with others. It shows you next step to take. So let's say you click on this. So you just accept this, and you click next. So what is your sex? Let's say female. You can see it's almost similar. Then you choose your age. Because our interface is a little bit different, but it's almost similar. It's almost similar. So good. See, history of chronic disease, like that. So you select the ones that apply to you. But we are using yes and no in our own design. So you can check on this while we develop our own application, the COVID-19 app. So stay with me until the next video where we dive into coding actually. Thank you for watching. Hi, welcome to session 3 on this video series on how to build COVID-19 Symptom Checker and Patient Triage System in C#. My name is Ayuba Janogwamoazu, and in this session 3 here, we are going to dive into the actual creation of the COVID-19 Symptom Checker. And then we're going to start by setting up the application structure, designing the user interface, setting up the necessary libraries that we need to set up, and then calling the Informatical API and putting everything together. So of course, the default IDE for developing .NET applications is Visual Studio. So I have my Visual Studio here installed. I'm currently using Visual Studio 2015, but of course any Visual Studio will suffice. So let's get started. You go to Visual Studio, you go to new. I've done this before, but I'm just going to repeat this again. So you go to new website, click on new website. Okay, you select ASP.NET form websites since it already has a default settings for us and default structure. So you can name these. I name this COVID checker. Since I've named the other one, so I just name this COVID checker, and then make sure it's on ASP.NET form website and make sure it's C#, and then you click OK. So that will set up that will create a new application for us. Visual Studio will create a new application for us with all the necessary files, app codes, bin, directory, and all that. It's going to set up that for us, and of course with the web config. So let's just wait for that to get set up. So let's wait while that gets set up. This will take a little while because it's adding in some library. You can see it here, .NET compilers, Owen, code dump, and all that. So we just wait for this to just get added up before we proceed. And bingo, so we have these sites created for us. We can view these and see projects creation successful. So we can view this on our browser and see what we have here. It's still not responding. Let me just wait a little bit. Okay, good. So I have these here. I can right click on this and then view in browser. So COVID checker defaults into the XPX. Let's see what we have. Good, so you can see this beautiful website has been created for us by Visual Studio. Now we're just going to tweak this to fit what we want and all that. So we want to mimic, did I click on anything? Okay, I think I clicked on something. Now we want to mimic this, which is this, of course, that I've created. So we can do that. So let's change the application name. Let's start from there. Good, so this page has a master page, which is this. So you go to the master page and then you can change this to COVID-19, maybe COVID-19 checker, and then you scroll down a little bit and change the application name to COVID-19 checker. COVID-19 checker. We can leave the home, about, contact, and then everything that has to do with registration, since we don't need the users to register here before we can before they can use the application. So we can just comment out this line here, and then we can change this to COVID-19 checker. COVID-19 checker. This is the footer of the page that displays today's the year that we are. So if I refresh this now, so you can see it, COVID-19 checker, and then we've removed this, and then of course our footer is COVID-19 checker. And if you look at the application structure, once you created an application in Visual Studio, of course there is the membership, but we're not interested in that. There's app code here, we're going to use this. Then there's a bin directory where we have different DLLs. For Microsoft has created these for us based on, because it's a full-fledged application that has actually been created. So, and then we have contents here. Here's where we have our Bootstrap with CSS and the minified version, and then we have our CSS here. We have our fonts here. Then we have our scripts, JavaScripts here. So, and that's that about that. So and it's also mobile friendly, so in case you want to host this application. So this is about the application structure. Now we are following this interface here. Let's quickly set up this interface here. So we said COVID-19 self-assessment app. Fill out the following form to start your COVID-19 self-assessment. So first of all, we need your gender and your age. Why? Because we are following what is here. So if you get to read about the COVID-19 endpoints, if you flow down here, so you can see getting started. Let's just read it out. If you haven't already, please sign up to Informatica API. The COVID-19 endpoints are free of charge for everyone, and you'll not be asked to provide any payment method. So that's a good news. Now, the COVID-19 version of Informatica API is available at this endpoint here. So api.informatica.com COVID-19. It's a standard web service that accepts GET and POST requests. All responses, including error messages, uses the JSON format. So POST requests also take JSON inputs. Make sure you include the header content type application JSON. So we're going to do that. Now, authentication. The Informatica API uses a custom authentication mechanism. Each of your requests must include two non-standard HTTP headers. So we need the app ID and the app key, of course, which you have if you have created an account here, and you've created and logged into the account. These parameters correspond to your unique application ID and the key you created when you sign up to our developer portal. So once you sign up, you're going to see your application ID and application key. So for CURL, this is an example of how you can send a post request using your API ID and API key, and it's assumed that you send this first parameter, sex, male, age 30, and evidence, an empty list of array. So these are also the available endpoints: diagnosis, triage, search, symptoms, risk factors, and locations. So these are endpoints, and we're going to use basically we're just going to focus on these two, this first two here, so diagnosis and triage. Okay, so now first request diagnosis, we need to send in the gender and the age of the person. So that's why you can see the first user interface of the applications like this. We need your gender and your age so that we can be able to send in this first request. Your first request to the API could look like this. This is in CURL format, but we're going to do this in C#. And then the output will bring out something like this. So questions whether we should stop. Should stop means whether the questionnaire should stop, and then the conditions, extras, and explanation. So everything has been explained here. The question is like asking you questions, like the different questions I asked, like which is this, for example. If I select male, for example, and then this is 70 years. For example, so here is the question. This text here, please select all statements that apply to you. So this text will keep on changing. So that is the question. So that's question. And then should stop. It's also return. We have this that will return whether the question should stop or not. So you can say I have continue here. So if this should stop is set to false, we won't have continue here. But if should stop is set to true, that means the question has the questionnaire has ended. So we will display this. But as long as it's false, we will continue displaying that. Now, so that's that about question should stop. Then conditions, conditions display. These are the conditions. So this history of chronic lung disease, or history of heart failure, chronic cancer, and the rest. So these are conditions that will keep on changing as we go. Extras, just some extra explanation, and explanation about that. So let's scroll down and see. So the first request of the API, we're going to have this JSON formats. We're going to get this. Now I'm going to show you something, but first of all, let's keep our interface. Let's design our interface first, so that you get to see why we started the interface with age and gender. So switch back to your default XPX. And then at this point, I think I don't need this. This can go away. And then can just, this can also go away here. can say div class column md12 text center. So h1, what was the text we wrote there? If you come back here, I'll go back to the text is COVID-19 self-assessment app. So we say COVID-19 self-assessment. I hope I spelled the assessment correctly. Okay, self-assessment app, so that should be centralized, and if we refresh this page, which is what we are designing, we should have this. Good. COVID-19 self-assessment app. Now, this is going to be a one-page app. Actually, we're just going to use only this default page. We're not doing anything more than that. So now, what we are going to use our multi-view to be able to have different sections of the page. So I'm going to drop my multi-view here. Here's my multi-view control. So I take my multi-view control, I drop it here, and then okay, I can drop it. I should drop it in here. I can drop it in here. Drop it in here, and then I say active view index should be the first view. So I'm going to need 3 views. So I'm going to drop the first one, and drop the second one, and drop the third one. So I'm going to need these 3 views here. Okay, good. So for the first view, which is this page here, I'm going to put all this. So fill out the following form to start your COVID-19 assessment test, right? That's what we wrote there. So I can say H3, for example. So I say fill out the following form to start your COVID-19 assessments. I think assessment has double S. And then of course we can centralize this text. So I can just say class, so text center. So I have this now. We're going to use a table, which is the next thing. So I need a gender and age, right? So table, you can say table, since we're using Bootstrap, say class table. Oh, I can just style it. There's no need of, I can just style it, make it 100%. Style, let's say width, or maybe 80%. 80% margin auto. So I have this now, and just table row, table td. So the first one is what? Select your gender, right? So it says select your gender, and then we're going to drop in our drop down control, drop down list. So we're going to dump that there, and then I can call these CBO gender, that's combo box gender. Usually like to use the word combo box. And then I can say class, CSS class should be from control. So the next one is tr td enter your age. So you could decide to change your own interface and give options like decide to put a scroll bar here for the user to select his age, just however you want it. So here we're just going to drop a text box, for simplicity case. So pick a text box and drop it here. So I call this text age CSS class form control. Okay, why don't I run this and see what I have? So far so good. Excuse me. Okay, this look good. Now I'll just put a little space in between all this, which I can just a style padding, maybe 5 pixel. Just pad everything. Just drop this here, drop this here, and drop this here. So the next thing is we go tr. First of all, put this one empty, and then put this here, and then we'll drop in our button. So we'll just pick a button, drop that here, and then we'll say CSS class of this button should be btn large, and then btn info. Good. So we'll say start test, and then of course I can drop that style in here. So now that we have this, we can also come to our gender here and then put the different gender that we have. So the first one, we'll make it just like a message. We'll say select gender, and then we give it a value of -1, so that is not going to be counted. So we say this, and then text, say male. Make sure the male is in small letter, because I noticed this has to be in small letter. I tried it in capital letter and it didn't work. So make sure it's in small letter. Text female, also in small letter. The value should also be female in small letter. We're going to use this later. So now we have this. We can refresh this page and see. So good. So we have this page here now, and we can select gender, whether male or female, enter your age, and then click start test. So good. So far so good. We have that. Now the next thing is we are going to code the second view, because once you click on start test, after entering your parameters here, we need to have a grid view that will display, that will give us a list of all available questions and the conditions based, all available conditions and questions about them. So we need to put that. So what we just need to do is just put a simple grid view there, and that's all. So I can still put I can say still div class row, and then div class column md12 text center, and then we're going to drop in our label. But first of all, we're going to drop it in maybe H3 control, and then we drop in our label here, So we see label questions, for example, LVL questions. So that's where we're going to display our questions. Can remove this text, and then here we are going to just put a break, just put a space, put a break twice. Now dropping the grid view. We'll just leave it as a grid view 1. So we'll just leave these as grid view 1, which should be 100%. Good. So I'm still going to modify the grid view later, but I'm just leaving this now. So I will show you something later while we'll need to modify this grid view later. Okay, so the view 3 should also be similar. So we'll just pick what we have in view 2. Just pick that. We'll drop it here. But now this here, we can remove this label here and just type in a text. We say thank you, please click the button below to check your results. And then the button below should be here. Okay, I can move this here actually. The button below should be here, so I can put a break and then drop a button. Good, and then I call it BTN result. BTN result, and then we'll say results. Now we forgot something. We need to drop a button here too, to show continue. So we need to drop it below the grid view. So we'll just put a break and then call this continue, so that it can continue. And then I call this BTN continue. And continue. Good. So we can style this button if we like. But since I'm following the other standard, I can leave this by not styling this. But then I'm going to style this. I can style all of them. CSS class, BTN, BTN large, BTN info. Can do the same thing here. CSS class should be BTN, BTN LG, that's BTN large, and BTN info. So good. I believe we have our interface up and running. You can refresh this. So that's that about the interface. The next thing we need to do now is to start coding the application by interacting with our API, putting in the necessary classes, calling the necessary DLLs, and all that. So pause this video here and continue in the next session. Thank you. All right, continuing from where we stopped in the last video, we created this beautiful interface. Now we should dive into coding this application to get the best out of this API. So I'm going to start with this button here, the button test, and we're just going to head to the code behind. So here's the code behind we have here, and we are going to use some since we're talking about web requests or post requests, because I want to generate this JSON first before we can be able to see how we bind these to our grid view. So my goal is to generate this JSON first, but we can generate this JSON based on what we have in the CURL here. So what am I going to do? First of all, I need the .NET HTTP class for sending the post. and then of course I need to use HTTP web request. So I need the HTTP class and then the JSON, the Newtonsoft JSON library. So I need these two libraries. So let me see the one I can use. Okay, and if that's the case, I need to install the .NET HTTP. So to do that, you go to websites, go to manage NuGet packages. Then here you search for .NET HTTP. So system .NET .http. So wait for that to search. Make sure you have your active internet connection. So good, I need this. So install the latest and the stable one. As at the time of shooting this video, the stable version is 4.3.4. So I install this. So make sure it's system.net.http. So wait for that to be added. Go ahead and click OK. Okay, accept that. Okay, good. So this has been added. And then I said we need Newtonsoft.json, right? Do we need to add that? Let me check. Of course we need to add that. Newtonsoft.json, Newtonsoft.json. So we need to add these two for now. Okay, good. Okay, I think it's added. So it's added by default because thing is talking about upgrade. So okay, all right. I'll close this for now, and then I will just use this. So using system.net, using system.net HTTP. So I know I'm going to need this, and then using Newtonsoft.json. So I will need this for now. So I said I'm going to code the start button and close this, which is the first button here. So I name this button starts, and then I'll click. So we'll have that. Now So let's see. Let's just start with requests. That's the first thing. Variable request should be HTTP web request, and web request. So we create, and then we pass in the request URI string, which in this case has been provided for us. The first one we need to call is the diagnosis. This, so we just pick all this here. Right, so pick all that, and then we add it here. Good. And then they said the content type must be application.json, application JSON. So content type must be this. So we just say requests, but content type. Application JSON. Now the next thing, the request method is a post request. Mind you, I'm doing this according to what is in the CURL. So you can use web clients, but this scenario I just prefer to use web request. So posts, and then once again we have content type. Okay, now we need the API ID and the API key. So I have mine, and then I'm going to copy that. I think I have it in the other application. So you can log in and pick your own ID and key. I have that. I created that here. Let me quickly go pick that. Let's PUB Covid19 app. I created it here. So it's here. I can view this with Notepad. Okay, good. So here's my app ID from what I created. Okay, request.headers. Let's just add that. Request.headers. So we add, and then is what is app ID, right? App ID. So that's my app ID, and then request dot headers dot add app key. So going right ahead to pick my app key here. So mind you, this is supposed to be secret, but I'm just using this for this video tutorial. So I created this for this video tutorial, but these are supposed to be secret. So now that I have this, the next thing now is to pass in the parameters, which we have sex here, male, and age 30. So let me pass that and see. So I see string sex, so it should be CBO gender, selected item dot value, and then string age. Is age string? I think it should be. Is it an integer? I think it's an integer. Let's use an integer. So let me say convert to integer. Text age, text. Okay, so now that we have these, good. We need to what we need to do is because I want to get this JSON format, I want to get this JSON, but I need to pass this as a class. So I think the best thing is just to copy this now and pass it as a class as it is now. What you just need to do, just copy this JSON response here, this first JSON response that they gave. Just copy it till the end. This will do the magic. So you copy this, go to our app code, create a class, new item, create a class. So let's just leave it as class 1. We add that, can remove all this information about class 1. Go to edit, go to paste special, paste as JSON classes. So now I've pasted this. Good. So I've this is the JSON format. This is the class, the object representation of the JSON format. So I'm going to of course I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this because it's the object representation of the JSON format. So you can see we have root objects, set conditions, extras, questions. These are Boolean, whether the interview should stop, and the class extras has nothing actually there. Then questions, we have explanation of the question, extras, items, an array of items, text, and type. So the text will give you the text of the question. For example, selects all fewer cases and all that. Then the items will have choices, explanation, ID, name, and then all this. So we're going to see how all this returns, and then we're going to use it. So let's start with this object root. Let me name it object root object A rather. So I save this. Going back here, I say root object A. Can call it my object, that's my OPG. Question new root object A. Right, then object sex okay, let's go back here. We said root object, right? Conditions, these. Items, choice. Okay, I think this is okay based on our based on the JSON response I picked. This first JSON response. Okay, this is the first JSON response. Now this first JSON response, I'm just trying to see what we have here. What is returning? Is returning question, and then for the question we have items. No, this is not what I'm looking for because this is not the first one. Good. This should be. Oh, let's read this again. Your first request to the API should look like this. Okay. You pass in sex, age, and evidence. The response returned from diagnosis will contain several sections. The next diagnostic question to ask your user. That's the first one. A flag indicating whether the interview should stop. Then a list of conditions. This will always be empty for backward compatibility with our general symptom check Checker API. Extras, usually empty, may contain additional or experimental attributes, explanation, a short optional description of the question, which can be displayed as a hint. Of course, this question should stop conditions, extras, and explanation. And okay, that's this, right? Okay, good. Then and then they explain each of them. The question attribute represent the next diagnostic question that can be presented to the user. Questions are follow-ups to already reported observation and can be used to build conversation-like interfaces, symptom checkers, chatbots, etc. that resemble the way doctors interview their patients. So we are building for symptom checker. So, and they said in this example, in our example, the API will generate a multi-choice questions on a few risk factors. So, now if that's the case now, I need to pass in, if that's the case, I need to pass in the parameters, like I said. I need to pass in the sex and then the age of the patients. Good, based on what was selected here. So, well, let me check what I did here. Okay. Oh. I'm not seeing sex, age, and evidence. That's what I'm trying to check. Because that's what we have here. Should I copy these and use this? Okay, good. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's the first JSON object. Let's assume we have a male patient age 30 and no observation yet. So this is the first request. Here's what we missed. This is the first request. So I need to copy this. This is what I need to copy actually, because this is the first request, and what we copied here is the second request. So I'll come here and then I can put this up. Just after this, go to edit, go to paste special, paste as JSON classes. Good. So this should be root object A, like that. So we have sex, age, and an evidence. That's what I've been looking for. So this should be root object, and then this should be root object. Good, because here's the first request we are passing. So now I will say so now I'll say my objects, we're passing in sex, which is what we have here, sex, and then my object age is what we have, what we declared here, age and sex, right? Then my object evidence, for now there is no evidence, so we're passing an empty array. So I say new evidence. Okay, I'm coming. We need to be reading through this API properly to get so sex, age, and evidence, right? Let's see here. Why didn't I change this to evidence, object evidence? Because that's what I did to get this API up and running. So if you scroll down, if you read down, you can see we have evidence. So you just have to read down and understand what the whole thing is saying. So they say when a user answers the question of the single type, exactly one object with the ID of the item and selected choice ID should be added to the evidence list of the next request. So we need to have the evidence class. So we need this. So you copy this. You can put this below here. Go to edit and then paste special. Paste as JSON classes. Okay. Oh, maybe that's not the correct one. Okay, this is the full first. This is what we need to copy. This is the full first request: sex, age, and evidence. So I copy all these. I can even remove this for now. Remove this and then go to edit, paste special. So good. So you can see we have root object and evidence. Now that's the full JSON list. What I noticed with the website is they didn't really put in the whole complete response of the JSON in one place. So you just have to intelligently look at it and then make the best out of it. Anyway, that's why I'm here and that's what I'm teaching you. So I have this. Here's the complete first one before the second request, second post request. So now I can say evidence. New evidence. I call the new evidence class because it's an array. So I pass in this empty list of array. So now after doing this, now the next thing is we just do this. We say using variable stream. We use our stream writer. We use our stream writer. I need to call in some classes, but let me just write it. New stream writer request get request stream. Good. Just look at the potential fix. So we're using system.io there, and then this should be capital S. Or this should be small s. So we don't confuse that. So we say string JSON JSON convert. So we're going to serialize the objects which we passed, which of course in this case is my object here. So we're going to serialize that, and then we're going to write it to JSON. So we say stream writer. Stream writer with a small capital. Write to what? To JSON. Okay. Then we're going to use our HTTP response. So we can just say variable HTTP response should be just what we did above. So we'll just say HTTP web response, HTTP web response. So the request should get response. And then using stream reader, because we've read the response, so we need to read it. So using variable stream reader should be new stream reader, and then HTTP response that we have, and then get response stream. Now we have this like this. So I can declare this. I can say reader string should be stream reader and read to end. So I'm going to display this on a label just to see the results of what we have done. So let's say you click on that. I'm just going to display this on a label. I'm just going to drop a label here in the first multi-view. Just want to see the result of what I've done, whether we are calling the API correctly. So I just say label 1, the text should be reader string. Right, so so we've passed the API key, the API ID, the API key, and then we're passing in this information, the age, the sex, based on what's selected, and we just want to see the JSON response. So let's run that and see. Okay, so let's say we select a female of the age of 32, for instance. Let's click on start test and see. Good, so we have a response here, and it shows that we've called this API correctly. So in the next video, we are going to use JSON convert to deserialize the string, and then bind it to our grid view object, and continue using this. So thank you for watching. Alright, continuing from where we stopped in the last video, we were able to display the JSON formats of our result set. So what we're going to do now is to intelligently convert this JSON format into a readable table that we can display on our grid view control, and then of course our label control that we want to use. So at the end of the day, we just need to deserialize this JSON format. That's just what I'm trying to say. So if we go back to the codes, and then you can see here, we're able to get the reader string, string reader, read to end. So we need to deserialize these now, and to do that, it's very easy. I can comment this out, or I can remove this out. I don't think I need this again. So we just need to deserialize that. So I'm going to declare to save result, variable result. So, and then since we are converting this to JSON, so we use the JSON convert, JSON convert deserialize object. So we'll deserialize object, and then so we are going to use our class, the root object class that we created. So because we're getting this response, so I think we're going to use this class root object A because we want to use all these conditions, extras, questions, should stop, and the rest. So just say root object A. Good. And then so we're deserializing the reader string, right? Deserializing the reader string. Okay, let me look at the format very well. Okay, I would like to put this braces here, so this kind of brace, I would like to put that here. So I say reader string, and then plus this, like this. Okay, now sorry, I'm having a mistake here. Okay, deserialize list. We need to convert this to a list. We need to convert this to a list. So good. So this should work like this. So now that we have this, we can now display label questions dot text. So we display, so we say results. We get the question text, right? We get the question text. Good. And then our grid view, which is grid view 1, the data source should be results questions dot items. So when the items of the questions, and then we'll just say grid view 1 dot data bind. Then after this, after all this has happened, so we say multi view 1 set active view to the second view, which is view 2. So let's try and run this and see the effect of what we have done. So I'm going to refresh this again. Going to refresh this again, and then start from the beginning. Okay, wait for these a little bit. Wait for this to get refreshed. Am I having any? Oh, this is 0, not O. This is 0, not O. So refresh this again. Good. So let's just select the gender, male, and of 65 years old, and then you click start test. Good. So you can see the next question has been displayed here. So the label question displays this. Select all statements that apply to you, and then we have these are the explanation of the statement. So but what we just only want to display to the user is just this here. So the user will answer questions based on this, and these are the ID that we need to pass back as parameter for the second call. So when we click continue, we need to make a second call. If you read the API properly, you will see it's everything they say here is what I'm doing. They say the first request, you send this, the gender and the age of the person, and then evidence is of course is 0. But in the second request, now after doing that, you get an output that looks like this. So, and then they explain the different kind of questions that you have, but to keep it simple, they have 3 kinds of questions actually, yes or no kind of question, but we're just going to make everything yes or no for this application, but you can improve yours. And they have simple questions, group questions, and group multiple questions. So now, after you receive a question, you should answer it and send another call to diagnosis. You repeat this process back and forth until the stop condition is met. For example, if patient were to answer no to the question on accelerated breathing, you will need to add the following evidence. So you can see IDDs, just IDDs. So, and they said here, it's very important to understand the diagnosis endpoint is stateless. This means the API does not track state or progress of cases it receives. So with each request, you need to send all information gathered about the patient to this point. So this just shows one thing. It shows we're going to use session in our application because it's stateless and we need to maintain the session of what is being sent back and forth. So I'm going to show you how you do that. And it's written here in our next case, in our next diagnosis request could include the following JSON object. So you can see the sex, the age, and then the evidence. So that's evidence of what the person selected, just like in our case here. If the person selected this as no, it's absent, this as yes, it's present, like that. So we're just going to display only the name and then just the name and the ID. Here, just the name and the ID here. So we're not going to display this. So well, let's look at the header, the field, the data field name. We have explanation, ID, and name. So I'm interested in only ID and name. Now I'll go back to my grid view and fix that. So if you come here, go to the first grid view 1, and then we are going to fix that. So first of all, we say auto generate columns should be false. Auto generate columns should be false. Then we do this with the columns. ASP bound field, data field, we have ID, and then header text. Header text, I can say ID, and then ASP bound field, data field, we have name, header text. I can just say symptom, maybe just symptom. Let's spell the symptom correctly. Symptom. Did I spell it correctly? SYM. Sometimes you just SYMPTOM. MPT. Okay, all right, symptom is spelled correctly. So good. Now we can go back and refresh that again. We just click on this button, it takes us back to the first page. We'll refresh this page. So good. So we select let's say male, age 32 for instance, and then we start test. So good. So you can see we have this now. Now we need to add another field to check whether this is yes or no. So we need to add that. So we're just going to add that manually, and then it's just going to be a template field. So I'm just going to say ESP template field, and then template item or item template. So I'm going to drop my radio button control. So radio button control, where is the radio button control? So here's the radio button control. I'll say rad yes, and then text should be yes. run no, and then text should be no. Good. So I'll refresh this again. We select this, maybe female, age of 30, and then you start text. Okay, the remote could not resolve API. Okay, this should be from the API call. There should be data problem, but of course you can actually handle that error. Leave that as an assignment for you. So let's click start test again and see. That was network issue. Good. So you can see. So you can now answer these questions. History of chronic lung disease, you can say yes. Or if it's no, you can say no. Okay, now we can select both yes and no at the same time, so we need to add a group name. So we'll just come here, we'll say group name. You can just say RAD, just the group name should just be the same. So it means this particular row, you can select two answer at the same time. Okay, so let's say female, age of 30, start test. Good, so we have this. So let's say you select yes here or no, select no or yes, like that. You select based on the ones that apply to you, then you click continue. So by clicking continue now, the next question should pop out. So how are we going to do that? They said the API is stateless. That means it doesn't store what it receives. So that means we have to store this in session. Now the button start that we send, it's going to be the same thing that we are going to send here for this button continue. But then we have to look for a way to store session of these items. So for example, if I select all these and I click continue, I have to store the session of all these results I have selected. So, and that's what we are going to do now before we display our results. So now the best way to do this is to create a data table and store all the answers that we have in our data table, and then that data table should be stored in session. I'm going to show you the trick on how I did that. It's just like adding items to cart. So I'm going to show you how that is done. Now if we go back here, let's try and fix all the data table issue. So we're going to use system.data, using system.data. Good, so we're okay with this. Then I'm going to create a data table here called DT cart. So I'll say data table. So I'll say DT cart, or like session cart. So I'm going to do this like this. Then on page load, if there is no post back, I'm going to create an empty session. But before I do that, let me create a representation of our data table. So I'm going to say data table creates table. So and then of course we just, since we need to return that, so set data table TBL should be equals to new data table. So the new data table. So TBL the columns. Add ID TBL columns. Let's add name, and then we return TBL. Good. So I'll come here now, and then I'll say DT cat. DT cat should create table. So on page load, we're going to create table, and then session. I'm going to sort the session in another variable called my cat, which I think I need to declare this my so I declared our session to hold this variable here. So I'm going to create another instance of data table, another empty instance of data table. So I'm just going to do that here, because we'll have to intelligently do this. Good. So I have these now, right? Now on button continue, go back to default. On this button here, and click on this button. So on the click of this button, we are here, right? Now, before I do that, let me store also this objects here in session. It's good I store this, the gender and the sex is good I store them in session. So I'm going to change that. This is on button start. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say session sex should be that. Session age should be that. So I'm going to just convert this session to string and the other one to integer. So I'm just going to pick this, drop this here, so just say to string, and then I'll pick this. So I'm storing this value in session. This session, this is the best way I can maintain the state. So say convert to integer 32, right? Okay, so good. So I fixed this now, and then it's basically the same code that I'm going to use in the other button, the continue button, but then I will have to do some few variation here and there just to check that everything is in line with how I want it to be created. So now I'm just going to pick all this and then modify the codes according to how I want it. So I'm just going to pick all this. So this is the same. And dump them here. Then good. So now I need to fill this because I need you to highly concentrate on what I'm trying to do here. Now I need to fill my evidences. This is an array of evidence, so I need to add records here before I can submit to both the triage and the diagnosis. So I need to keep on adding this record. That's why I created the data table, to keep on adding records as I'm clicking the continue button. So each time I click the continue button, rows will be added to this evidence array, and then it will be sent back to the API. So that means I'm not going to use this root object here. I'm going to use evidence and then store these records in my evidences. So I think what I'm going to do is let's look at this critically. Okay, I can just remove these codes up to this point here. So I need this first request method, application headers, body API key, and then I have this session here of okay, now let's go back. I think I don't need up to here. I will still need them actually. Here now I just need to change this to root object A, and then the root object A, which is this class here. I'm going to work with this, and then evidence. Where is the evidence? So I'm going to store actually all these in a array. Each of the questions that is selected, I'm going to store that in an array. That's what I'm going to do. So okay, no, I need to leave this here. Sorry, because I need to pass in the sex, the age, and then it's here that I need to make my changes. This is where I need to make my changes. Good. So I'm going to create a list so that I can put all the evidences there. So I'm going to say list. Also list of evidences, and then I'm going to call it evidences, maybe EVIA, and then new list of evidences. Right, so I'm going to do this like this, and then now you remember this data table that I created, the second one. Good, is what I'm going to use. You can take it here, you can pick it from here and drop it here so that you can get to see its use properly, and just drop it here. So I'm going to use that my cart. So I'm going to use my cards. I'm going to store my details there. So data table. So I'm going to call the session. My cards. The session that I created, the empty session that I created, I'm going to bring the value back to this data table here, so that I can use that data table to create what I want to create. So I'm going to loop through this grid view, and store this value, the value I want to use, and the answers that selected here into my cart. So it's just like creating a cart in shopping, in online shopping, in e-commerce shopping. So we'll say for each grid view row in grid view 1 dot rows. So for each of these, we are going to get the ID and the answer of the checkbox, whether it's yes or no. So we're going to get this ID and then the answer that is checked of the radio button. So I'm going to say string, and they both accept string. So if you read the, let's say, grid view ID, so row dot cells, the first row dot cells, if you remember. So we'll get a text property, and then our checkbox. The first one is if check yes is selected. So I'm going to say check box, convert the row to checkbox, find control. If you remember, this was in a template control, so chk yes, that's what we named it, right? Chk yes. Okay, we said rad yes. Let me change this to chk. Chk. Good. So change this like this. So if chk yes is selected, then we'll also get for checkbox no. So copy the same thing, and then a checkbox chk no, chk no. Good. So we're going to do some if else statements. If chk yes is checked, if chk yes dot checked is true, then we pick the value of that. And then we create a data row, pick the value, and then dump it in our my cat row. So that way we've created a kind of so it's a data row, cat row should be my cat dot new row. So we'll create a new row, and then cat row ID should be the grid view ID, then cat row name. So you can see we're creating a representation of what we want in a data table. Now, what we are being passed, instead of yes now, the recommendation here or the requirement here is we either pass present or absent. So you can see, so this is what I'm trying to build here. We get the ID and then the choice ID. So it's either absent or present. So if yes is checked, that means it's present. So the same thing goes with no. Now after doing this, then we say my cat rows should add cat row. Good. So if this is checked, else if chk no dot checked is true, then we repeat the same thing, but we change the values. We change this to absent. Good. So after this is done, then as in our for each statement, after we've run through this loop, then we're going to say my cat, go up a little bit, say my cat to accept changes. Good. So now we have created these and then added these to our data table called my cat. Now we're also going to run through the data table called my cat and then store the evidence in a session. So everything, we're going to run through the whole my cat and then store the whole answer in a session. So that's what we are going to do now. And then we're going to do that very easy. Let me just remove all this line of code, even though we'll need them later. But okay, let me just comment them out, because I know I'm going to deserialize do some stuff later. Okay, so I come here and then we say for each data row, let's say D row, in my cart that we just created, dot rows, so we're going to do this. We're going to say string same thing, gid should be D row so should be the first one to string storing this value, and string name or string choice ID, string choice ID or name, this the choice ID or name, string choice ID should be D row 1 to string. Good. So now there's an array of evidence that we created, this list of evidence that we created. We're going to just store that. So we see this, but add new evidence, and then we pass in the array. So we say ID of that is our GID, and then choice ID of that is our choice ID. Good. I like to put this like this so that there will be no confusion. Choice ID and choice ID like this. Good. So this way there's no confusion. So now that we have these like this, then the next thing, we store this in a session and convert it to an array. So we say session, we create another session, see via evidence. So evidence that we have to array. So we'll convert that list to array, and this is how you convert that in C#. So good. So we have these like this now. So now that we have these like this, the next thing that I'm going to do is because I've successfully converted this, so I'll now say my object, which I created up, but evidence now, I'm passing in the evidence now, will be this session I created. This session, EVIA, evidence, as evidence. Good. So I've now we'll pass this as evidence now. So I can now use my stream writer and the rest now. So using my stream writer now, I can comment out this line. So using stream writer, passing my objects, which I already did here, then HTTP web response. So the same thing, new web response, create my reader string, deserialize my object, and then deserialize my object. Good. Now I have to do some intelligence here. First of all, let me put this all. When I pass in my response, I get my reader string, I get my result. Now after getting my result, I will have to check if the question is time for the questions to stop. So if this becomes false, if should stop becomes false, or if the questions items, the items of the question returns null. The items of the question return null. Let's use the item of the question. If it returns null, then we will know what to do. So I'll come here. That's after result. I'm going to say if results that question should return null, then I should go to the third view where it's time for me to view my results. So I'll say multi-view 1, set active view to view 3, else I get the question text, and then I get this whole stuff here. And I won't need this again. So good. So this is capital V. So good. So that's that about this. Check our codes are correct. So let's go refresh these and run these again and see. Okay, so let's select a gender. Let's say female, age of 80, for instance. Start test. Good. So let's say she selects yes, here, no, 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 and then yes. Click continue. Cool. So you can see the next question. Do you have any following symptoms? Please select new symptoms that are not related to your disease. So let's say she selects no, no, and then yes, for instance. And then we'll hit continue. So the third question, history of okay, I can see this is returning me back to the questions. Let's send this again and see. Okay, I think we've done a mistake somewhere because it's not sending in the correct result as I want. So let's go back and check our codes and see where we have done our mistake. So this should be important continue, right? So we pass in the session sex age, and then we get these. So list of evidence, and then we have this. And then we created my cards, of course. I created a new cards data table, you know. We created that, and that is we started here. If there is no post back, if there is not post back, not if is post back. So this is where our mistake is. So this should be if not is post back. So I can refresh this again. So let's say female 30. So let's select all these records. We hit the next button. Okay, disease or drugs that weaken your immune system. Let's say no. Fever, no. Cough, yes. Shortness of breath, yes. Okay, are your symptoms rapidly worsening? Let's say no. Are you breathing very fast? Let's say yes. Are you coughing up blood? Let's say no. Good, thank you. Please click the button below to check your results. So the idea now is we click this button and then we see our results. So in the next video, I'm going to code this button so that we can get to display our result to see whether the patient has COVID-19 or not based on the assessment that has been taken. So stay with me until the next video. Thank you for watching. All right, continuing from where we stopped in the last video, we were able to look at our COVID-19 self-assessment app, and we got to this point where we need to check the result. So like I said, we're going to code this button to check the result. But let's go and look at the API documentation, and to check the result means we have to call the patient triage API. So we need to call the patient instead of diagnosis API, we need to call the triage API for this to give us the appropriate result that we want. So if we scroll down again, if you read through the the documentation, you can see the response here you get by sending in this list of choices. The response contains the following elements: triage level, a classification of case provided, a label, which is name, the seriousness of it, and then that is after sending these. Okay, let's start from here. Once the stop condition is met, it is time to call an endpoint called triage, which allows you to categorize the provided patient case and display suitable recommendations according to the World Health Organization and CDC guidelines. So we're going to send a request now to the triage endpoint with all the evidences that we have, with all the choices of evidences that we have, and then we should be able to get a JSON. Result like this. So I'm going to copy this, and then we need to change these and use this as a class. We need to create this as a class. So you copy that, you go to your class, make sure you put your mouse below, probably maybe the last place here, and then you go to edit and go to paste special. So paste JSON as classes. Good. So I can change this to root object B. So you can see we have description, label, seriousness, and then all this. So we're just going to display the description. We're just going to display the description and the seriousness level of it, which of course is we're going to display this whether it's an emergency, and then the common name and all that. So we're going to display that in a grid view and a label. So that's what we are going to do. So now that we've created this class, the next thing is to code our button. So here's the button. Let's go back to default, and then okay, go back to default ESPX. So here we just create an on-click event of this, of the button. So on-click event of the button. So we'll create a new event called button result. So then I'll go to the code behind, and then I have this right now. It's basically the same thing with what I have here. So I'm just going right ahead to copy what I have in the continue button. So I'm just going to copy all this. I'm just going to copy all this, and then I'm going to paste this here. So the first thing I need to do is the endpoint of this is a COVID-19 triage, right? So let's verify that again. triage. So triage, triage. So that will be the endpoint. So basically every other thing is the same, including our so here now we're just going to pass a section of these evidence that we have, because we had it, we've created a section of it, so which is this here. So we're just going to pass this. So I'm just go right ahead, and all this other logic, I don't need them. All this other logic here, I don't need them because I'm done with them. So I'm just going to remove all these other logics here. Good. So we just have this traits, and then of course we serialize our object, and then get the HTTP response, basically the same thing. Get these, and then okay, so from here now we're just going to change this to object B. So, and good, so you can see that will have made a whole lot of changes here, because if we deserialize this and change this to object B, so we're going to remove this if else statements. I'm just going to remove this if else statements, and what I would just check is do I have label result? Okay, so the last place I'm going to have result to write a text short description of the result. So we'll say button view result, right? So I'm just going to dump a label here, label button, just dump that here. So it'll be a result. Cancel this, put a break, can put a break twice. So here now I will just say I was making this on the continue button. Sorry, this is supposed to be made on the result button. So I'll just go back. We'll just go back and have everything back. Good. I'll just go back and have everything back. Good. I believe everything is okay here. So this is not in the continue button. This is here. Pick all of this up to this point. I don't need this. And then what we did, we changed this to be this. And then I don't need this. We'll just say LBL results dot text should be this. So we'll get a description of the results. So we'll use the description, and then our grid view, second grid view, the data source should be results. So we get this serious, right? And then grid view to that's data bind. So after we're done with all this, we can clear our session. So this is session clear. So good, so we have that. So we have this. So so I just go right ahead, and then let's redo this again and see. So let's redo this again and see what we're going to have at the end of the day. Okay, so let's just wait for this to run. Okay, good. So let's do this. Select male, age 70. Click start test. So we make our choices. Continue. Hey, no. Probably that would have been a mistake somewhere. Session clear. Where did I put a session clear? Hope I'm not making any mistake. Let me put this like this. Okay, let's do this. Oh, there must be a mistake somewhere, because this is not going as planned. This is quickly telling me that there is a, okay, I believe it's the button starts. It's not a button start, it's a button continue. So I believe it's the changes I've made here, so I have to relook to look at this again, and then just make sure that everything's correct. So we start with the request, button continue. The request is not try-age. The request is tag. No says. So you can see that's the mistake I made. That's the first mistake. And this, the third one for the results. This is try-age. Okay, so let's refresh this again. Okay, so let's make our choices. First, email ATAs. So make our choices. Click continue. Okay, so make our choices. Good, so thank you. Please click the button below to check your results. So click on this. Cool, so you can see your symptoms are very serious and you may have COVID-19. So that's the result here, and this result shows that some are emergency and some are not. So if you've made it up to this point in this video, if you've been patient enough to watch up to this point, then congratulations, you have learned how to create a COVID-19 symptom checker and patient triage system in ASP.NET / C#. Once again, my name is Ayuba Ochonoguamoazu, and thank you for watching. Hi, so welcome to this concluding part on this video series where we build an application to how to build a COVID-19 symptom checker and patient triage system using C#.net. So we talked about in this project here, we talked about the Informatica, and then we talked about their email diagnosis and triage tool. We looked at symptom checker, chat box, and different kind of products that they have. And at the end of the day, we learned how to build our own COVID-19 risk assessment tool, which they have, which is a new tool that we have as the time of shooting this video. So we looked at it. We looked at the developers documentation. We looked at how we can call the API, make requests, post requests to the API, and get back results that we can use to intelligently develop our application, which at the end of the day, we're able to develop this application where users can assess themselves about this deadly coronavirus to see whether they have the disease, they should quarantine themselves or not. So we looked at the app, we checked through the app, and then we got to see the result of the triage system that the app has. Let me do something. I'll try and click no throughout and see the results we're going to have. So for every request, let's just send no. So let's say we send no, no, no. You can see this other questions. Have you had close contact with a suspected person having COVID-19 in the last 19 days? I'll say no. So okay, anyway, we looked at the whole information, and then at the end of the day, we're able to get the results of our assessment. So if you've made it to this point, congratulations, and thank you for watching.